Welcome, everybody, to Windy Wednesday, live with Adrenajen, where I talk about wind, weather, and all things snow kiting. So today's topic on Live with Adrenajen is the human factor. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy my talk today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jenny Milton, aka Adrenajen. I've been snow kiting for over 20 years and have a huge passion for teaching others to fly kites on snow and water. I'm an IKO and KA certified kite instructor. I'm a backcountry guide, ski instructor, nerdy gear tech. I'm best friends with the wind and a lover of sexy snowstorms. So today's topic is about the human factor. And the reason why I've decided to today's topic is about the human factor. And the reason why I've decided to talk about the human factor today is because on February the 19th, I had a snow kiting accident and got injured. And this is hard to talk about, but it was one of the best days of my life, to be totally honest with you. Before the injury happened, it was one of the best days of my life. Look at it. It's bluebird sky, powder white snow. It was my first day adventuring in Alaska for the season. So I decided that the plan was to meet up with a couple of my local friends who had been out on the Valdez Glacier on a regular basis, and I was going to take my snow machine out of its trailer and go for a ride with my friends and check out the changes in the Valdez Glacier, how much had melted and all the new icebergs that were around. And that was just the most amazing day. I have been riding snow machines for long. A snow machine, that's it there. Some people call it a skidoo. In Alaska, they call it a snow machine. So again. So I was having one of the best days of my whole life. It was the first day in Alaska adventuring. I decided to get my snow machine out of the trailer. The snow machine, for those of you who don't know, is a snowmobile, they call it in the lower 48. Up in Alaska, they call it a snow machine. So I haven't been doing a lot of this. I'm an Aussie, right? So I was super excited. I got my snow machine out of its trailer. I had my friends and my buddies with experience there for me. I had all my rescue gear in my pack, and I was super excited. The conditions were perfect. Bluebird sky, not a breath of wind. Well, I would have preferred some wind, but perfect for some people with no wind. And I had powder white snow. Beautiful, light, dry powder. It was cold. You can see I've got my pink puffy on, and I was having the most epic day exploring the glaciers and getting used to riding that snow machine around. They're big, they're heavy, and I was learning how to ride it in the powder. I even got my first jump. Woo! And we were out pretty much about 5 minutes after this photo was taken. We were out at the face of the glacier, and suddenly I felt the wind on my face. My best friend had come to play with me, and oh my goodness, my excitement level just went even further through the roof. I was so excited, but I didn't have my kite with me. So I had to jump on the snow machine. My friends were ready to finish their adventure anyway, and we rode back to my RV, where I shoved some food and water in my mouth, grabbed my kite, and I'm like, I'm going snow kiting. I had these visions of snow kiting next to the glacier, getting the most amazing photos. My friends were finished, and actually I was considering going on my own, but at the last minute, one of them said, "Oh, I would love to come with you and take photos." And I was like, awesome, photos and a backcountry buddy. That's a good plan. So everything like it was going to plan, and I headed out there with my kites. Unfortunately, the sun was actually starting to cover the area that I'd planned on getting my photos. And so I chose a different area where the sun was still there. There were icebergs, and I decided to put up my kite. Now, it was super windy, and I had an 8 and a 10 meter kite with me. I made a decision, because the snow was so thick, that I was going to take my 10-meter kite to give me a bit of extra power. which seemed like a good idea at the time, but looking back on it now, maybe I should have been on the 8, but that wasn't the major mistake that I made. And I was just having a great time snow kiting around in the powder snow, and I went for a big carving turn to throw some spray for the photo. And the next thing I know, I just felt my knee move to the side, a shooting pain, and just a realization that that was not a good feeling. That is not how my knee should have felt. And I instantly went into self-rescue mode. I let my body fall to the ground. I let go of the bar, and I realized that I needed to stop. I needed to finish my session. I needed to get home. I needed to get help. So I did launch the kite and snow kited over to where my friend was, which wasn't too far away. I said to him, I'm hurt, and I need you to grab my kite. Now, he'd never actually caught a kite before, so luckily I was able to quickly explain to him how to safely grab the kite, because I didn't need him getting hurt as well. He was able to grab the kite, bring it to me. I remember trying to sidestep with my skis, and my knee gave way again, and it was excruciating. But I was able to pack up my kite. He drove me to my snow machine, and I was able to ride the snow machine from the face of the Valdez Glacier back to my RV in excruciating pain, and you know, take the next steps. Now, I wasn't sure whether I should talk about this or not. I'm a huge fan of snow kiting. I'm super passionate about teaching people, as I mentioned, and I'm actually known as being super safe, teaching safety, and I was embarrassed. Not only was my knee hurt, but my ego was hurt. I didn't want to tell anybody. What if I told people it was going to turn them off snow kiting? They wouldn't want to learn anymore. Who would want to learn off somebody who got hurt? You know, all of these thoughts started coming through my head, and as you can imagine, you know, the mental side of dealing with an injury is very difficult, and I'm sure everybody who's been through that understands that depression can kind of creep in there. But let's go back to my best day ever. I was having a great time in the snow. I'd hurt myself, and now I've had time to reflect. I had my surgery. I'm recovering. I'm going to be back better than ever the next year. But I felt the need to actually talk and tell my story, and maybe teach the lesson, not just to myself, but to share that lesson with others. So let's talk about the human factor. The human factor strikes again, just like lightning. So what is the human factor? The human factor is the psychology and the behavior and decision making when, you know, we're talking about safety and risk assessment, especially in the mountains. This is a really important subject that they cover when we're doing our avalanche training, because it's so easy to be so excited about hiking that mountain that you can kind of turn a blind eye to some of the red flags and things that maybe you should have noticed. So let me tell you where I went wrong on my human factor. Overexcitement. Oh my God, I was so excited. Oh, there was so much excitement there that I was blinded to the fact that there were some red flags that I should have been aware of. Pre-fatigue was something I didn't think about at the time, but reflecting back on it, I don't ride a snow machine all the time. Those things are big, they're heavy, and my body, and including my knees, would have been pre-fatigued before I went snow kiting. And, you know, I'm so grateful to be fit and healthy and be able to do my sport for as long as I want to do, which is why I didn't feel tired. My legs didn't feel sore, and I made the decision to have one more session that day. Now, I overlooked some red flags, and I'm going to tell you about the major red flag that I overlooked. Kodak courage. Now, that can be a big one. Woo, I wanted to get a photo. It was going to be amazing, and that can tend to make me, and maybe some others, maybe you, to overlook the dangers because we want to get that amazing photo. But for me, I also, looking back, I actually had a lack of fear. So I didn't need to find the courage because I was so confident in my skills and my knowledge and everything I had. I actually had a lack of fear. Now, normally when I'm teaching people, people have fear, and that fear can hold them back. And that's something that, it's important for us to be able to push through that fear to go and have the enjoyment in our sport. But at the other end of the scale, having a lack of fear is also a major problem. And it was something I didn't pick up in myself. So it's good to have a little bit of fear, because that's going to make us see those red flags and, preserve our health and reduce our chance of injury. So let me tell you about that red flag. Now, a red flag is just a danger that we need to take note of. And normally if there's 3 red flags, then it's a no-go. Now, as I was riding my snow machine around and checking out some of the glaciers, I had mentioned to my friend Rich, hey, Rich, look, there's pooling water. Why am I seeing pooling water when it's so cold? Shouldn't that be frozen? So early in the day, I had noted the observation of the red flag of some pooling water. But when I got my kite out and the excitement took over, I kind of totally forgot about that observation that I'd noticed earlier in the day. When I'm snow kiting or skiing on big mountains, it's natural for me to evaluate the snowpack, especially the subsurfaces when evaluating for avalanche dangers and things like that. We're looking at all the different layers. But when I was snow kiting this day, I'm on a frozen lake. I'm on the flats. I didn't even think about avalanche dangers and the subsurface. So let's talk about it now. What it happens is I'm on a frozen lake and I'm at sea level. Okay, now what an opportunity to get to snow kite at sea level, but there are some things to take into account, and that is that I'm on a frozen lake and there's water underneath, and we had so much snow in Valdez. That's why we go there, right? And it got super heavy that the weight of that snow tends to push on the ice, and the water starts pooling on the edges over the top of the ice. Okay, so over here we've got the ice, then the water, and then what happens is that water mixes with the snow and we get slush, super slushy stuff. Now that stuff's not that nice to ski on. I'm an Aussie. I've skied a lot of slush in my time. But then the water saturated through the next layer, which became a thick, heavy snow. And then, of course, we had that light, dry powder on the surface. But as the day went on, and because we were at sea level, that snow was not the light, dry powder that I get in Montana and Idaho. It was heavy. And so it was fine when I was just cruising around on the surface. But as soon as I went to carve that big, deep turn and went into the deeper snow, that was when my skis hit that thicker layer and my ski tracked forwards and my knee went sideways. So the layers were kind of like a birthday cake. And guess what? It was my birthday the following week. Not the happiest birthday I've ever had, but hopefully it made me a little bit wiser to not make the same mistakes next time. And I hope that this lesson today about the human factor and about, remembering about the subsurfaces, even when you're on the flats, is a great lesson for all of you today. So the keys to making safer decision and, remembering about the human factor are to gain knowledge and skills. Okay. Recognize our personal biases. I tend to get super excited. I've got friends who are always ready for another session, even if it's after dark, so we need to help our friends, remind them that we can be pre-fatigued. Manage our emotions effectively. Not get too scared, but also not that lack of fear as well. We need to be able to communicate and collaborate with others. And that's the thing that I did do right. And I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for taking my friends out there, because that day I needed my friends to help with the rescue, and I can't thank them enough. And also consider the environmental conditions, which is just what we talked about. And sometimes they can be unusual if you're traveling and you're in a different location, to remember, I'm not 6,000 feet, I'm at sea level, I'm on a frozen lake. There's different environmental elements that come into play. So in conclusion, we need to understanding the human factor is essential for making safe decisions in the mountains, and continuous learning and improvement lead to safer experience, and, checking our conditions. So I've been snow kiting for over 20 years. I've been skiing for over 50, and I still feel like I have so much to learn. So I'm going to continuously keep learning and improving, and also sharing these lessons with others so that you can learn, too. So thank you very much for watching me. I hope you will follow me on Instagram, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and I will see you next Wednesday live with Adrenajen. Thanks for watching.